just knowing what we know so far about it and taking those quotes from David himself, it seems like it's going to play on some very timely themes as well.
It is, absolutely. And I think, David can say those things without giving anything away. Jamie had said, and, I sort of follow their lead, in terms of what I can and can't say,
Sure.
Or what I'm willing to say. But Jamie refers to, the stark view of what mob mentality looks like, and
Yes.
so, so there's a stark difference between, peaceful protest and mob mentality. And
Yes.
so, we get to examine once again through the lens of these, these very talented people who have an incredibly, balanced vision. It's not an agenda driven vision. It's just a vision of what they see and what is, and then they comment on it. And, they think same thing that a comedian does. And so I think Halloween Kills, there are more than a few people who are, deeply involved in this film who say that Halloween Kills is even better than 2018.
Wow.
So, I mean, but in a way, you think about it, that almost had to happen because we've got the same cast back, the same crew back, the same writers, the same directors, the same, the same Blumhouse team, the same, everybody. So we were such a well-oiled machine for Halloween Kills. Pardon me. We knew, we already knew everybody's rhythms and, we gelled beautifully in 2018, but for Halloween Kills, wow, man, it was just,
it was just getting back into what. So was it difficult at all for you to get back into character, back into the shape, or did it just come naturally at that point? Like you said, it was a well-oiled machine and you just slip the mask back on and you're back.
Well, with the mask or without the mask, it's a space that was created. You know what I mean? And I spent a little more time in this one without the mask on. Once I found that space, which was very early on before I ever shot 2018, it's the exact same space I go to, which is why, like in interviews and podcasts and, whatever, people will ask about motivations or want me to intellectualize this character. I won't do it because it's a space, it's a place I go to, and I want to be in that same exact vibrational position, in that same place, in that same space when I show up for the first day in Chris Nelson's trailer and start putting on, start my hour-and-a-half process of putting on makeup and, prosthetics. And so I leave that to the fans. Like you can, the fans can argue and debate and conjecture as to what the motivations are and, what caused this and why that. And, that's great. That's awesome. It's fun. I'm staying out of it. Maybe someday, 10 years from now, I'll have a comment on that. But, for right now, so, showing up for Kills, I showed up, man, and got to work. I just showed up and got to work. And everybody else was, again, everybody knew everybody, with a few exceptions, with people that just couldn't make it because they were committed to other shows. There were even people who showed up, in the crew who could only be there a week or two until they had to go to another show, but they showed up because they just had to be a part of it, So it was, it's, and I anticipate the exact same thing when we shoot ends at the end of this year. It's going to be, just this. I kind of feel like I'm a believer in reincarnation. So I kind of feel like we travel in packs anyhow. We travel in communities. And it feels very clear to me that this Halloween cast and crew, we've done something together before. We were a community together, or we were a band of pirates, or who knows what we were, but there's this cohesiveness and this warmth and this knowing of each other that we had right from the very beginning, and it's only gotten better.
And you talked a lot about in our first interview about how Christopher Nelson, of course, was so key in helping you just find the character, keep the character throughout the production, and I assume that continued on the set of Kills.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and he did the same thing, and I didn't realize it until I did his podcast with Sean Clark.
Yes, which I watched that interview. Great interview, by the way.
Okay, so I mean, I knew, and it was in 2018, and the same thing in Halloween Kills. My day starts with Christopher Nelson. So every day, and Chris and I are both really into music. We're both,
Mhm.
you know, both influenced by many of the same musicians, as artists in general, and as musicians ourselves. And so, you know, every day Chris would start with an album. You know, it wasn't random. It was an album, and that album would set the tone for what we were going to do. That well, I didn't realize until I did his podcast that he decided the night before which album we were going to play. I didn't know that. He would look at the call sheet for the next day and go, all right, I think it's the Ramones tomorrow. All right, I think it's David Bowie tomorrow. I think it's, you know, I think we're going to go with some old blues here. I think we're going to go with some jazz. I think we're going to go, you know, and so he and that was just one part of setting the stage. We'd have conversations, you know, creative conversations. There's times where we'd work and he'd be working on me, and we didn't talk for half an hour. You know, I'd just be in my space, he'd be in his space. But definitely, and then working, you know, because I don't have that outside. First of all, there are a few people on the planet that know more about that character than Chris Nelson. You know, I mean, certainly Ryan Turek and, you know, and David Green, and, you know, there's a list of people, but sitting there, and then, so when we're shooting, I mean, he's keeping his eye on the mask, also making sure that the mask is presenting, you know, in the way that it should. So there's a tendency sometimes, because it's very difficult to see out of that mask. Very difficult, you know. So there are times when he would just adjust me, like, you know, adjust my, like, to say, okay, chin up, you know, chin up, or, you know, chin down, like just really, you know, just to, but yeah. So I mean, in a way, you know, because of the magic of that mask, I consider him one of the co-creators of the character, you know. So I love that relationship with, I mean, Chris and I are good friends as well. But, you know, I love that creative relationship with Chris. It just, you know, I mean, just so dedicated, so freaking talented, man. I mean, it's hard not to do a good job when you have that kind of talent around you. You know what I mean?
What was your reaction when they announced the sequels, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends? So it was first announced in 2019. Obviously, the fandom went crazy, and the excitement started immediately. When did you get word of this? Was there any talk of it when they were filming 2018, or what? How did you find out, and what was your reaction when you found out about the sequels?
Well, I knew when we were shooting 2018 that there were sequels.
Okay.
And so, but I only had a contract for one film.
Okay.
So, you know, and I'm kind of at the stage of my life where I don't chase things. I don't desire anything so deeply that, you know, that I'm going to be, you know, put myself in a position to make a poor choice, or be, you know, damaged, you know, emotionally because something doesn't go my way. I've sort of gotten past that place where, so I just sort of let it be. And you know, actually we didn't finish negotiating my contract for Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends until like right when we started shooting the film. And you know, it's just just the way that went. And that's just business. You know, that has no hard feelings there with anybody. We just you got to take care of business. And so, you know, I signed a contract for Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. And so I've had this very, I've learned in life that what's mine comes to me, you know. I mean, whether it's work, whether it's romance, whether it's, you know, money, I mean, friendship, what's mine comes to me. And I've learned in my life, at least, that if I go after things, if I scrap, and you know, either I don't get what I want, or I get it and it blows up in my face. So I've learned just to lay back and trust, and of course, ideally make, you know, decisions with integrity and honesty and you know, hopefully a little intelligence. But at the end of the day, I knew that what was going to happen was, you know, and honestly, I mean, I think, you know, at least from, you know, my conversations with the fans, my conversations with David and, you know, the other people like Chris Nelson. So channeling the shape through my unique person, you know, the way I move, the way, you know, the way I embrace that energy is different than another performer would. I'm sure there are other actors, stuntmen out there who, you know, other people out there are just as or more talented as actors, just as or more talented as stuntmen, who could bring a lot to this character and make it really special, but no one would do it like I do it.
Right.
I mean, that's just, you know, this is the way it is. And so, you know, it really came down to, in my mind, if I served the project, if I gave David what he needed, then I would be back. And if David wanted to go another way, or, you know what I mean, that would be a creative choice, and I wouldn't have taken that personally. I'm really glad we did, because I got to work with my Halloween family, you know, and I mean, it's just great to see. I mean, you know, everybody from the Blumhouse crew to, you know, the Rough House crew, everybody is like, we just, so much love, so much dedication, so much passion. So, you know, I'm really lucky. I get to inhabit the space of the shape, you know, for 3 films, and that's awesome. I remember when I heard David was going to direct the second one, I thought he might just produce it. But when I heard David was going to direct it, I was like, oh, this dude's got balls. He's got balls. To shoot a sequel to a film you directed that was super successful and really good, that's a confident man. That's a confident man. He knows what he's got. And, you know, so, and that, I remember when I realized he was going to direct it, I was like, oh man, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun.